I still remember the exact moment my world split in two. It happened at 2:17 a.m. when my phone buzzed on the nightstand of a cheap roadside motel. I had been on a 3-day work trip fixing electrical panels at a factory 2 towns away, tired, dusty, and counting hours until I could go home. The caller ID showed a hospital number. For a second, I thought it was a wrong call. Then I answered. "Is this Mr. Daniel Carter?" a calm female voice asked. "Yes," I said, already sitting up. "This is Mercy General Hospital. Your wife, Linda Carter, has been admitted to the ICU." The room felt suddenly too small. What happened?" I whispered. There was a pause, the kind of pause that tells you everything is bad. "She collapsed at home," the nurse said gently. "She's stable for now, but she's unconscious. You need to come immediately." My hands shook so badly I dropped the phone. Linda, my wife of 32 years, the woman who never complained even when her knees hurt or her chest felt tight, the woman who said, "I'll be fine," every single time. I didn't even pack properly. I drove through the night, my mind replaying every argument, every ignored call, every moment I chose work over home. Before I go on, if you're listening to this story in a quiet moment or late at night, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment telling me where you're listening from. It helps more than you know, and it reminds me I'm not telling this story alone. Now let me tell you what I saw when I reached the hospital. The ICU smelled like disinfectant and fear. Machines beeped softly like ticking clocks counting down something invisible. When I saw Linda, my knees almost gave out. She lay there, pale, tubes running into her arms, a ventilator helping her breathe. Her hair was messy, her wedding ring still on her finger. I took her hand, it was cold. "I'm here," I whispered, "I'm home." The doctor explained it in careful words. Stroke, stress-related complications, severe exhaustion. They asked about her medical history. "She was under a lot of stress," the doctor asked. I laughed bitterly. "She raised our son alone emotionally," I said, "even when we lived in the same house. Our son Ryan. 30 years old, MBA degree, corporate job, social media full of beaches, cocktails, and motivational quotes." I pulled out my phone and opened his Instagram. There he was, smiling, on a luxury yacht. Location tagged, Santorini, Greece. Posted 2 hours ago. My hands tightened around the phone. While his mother lay between life and death, Ryan was sipping champagne under a blue sky. I called him immediately. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Nothing. I sent a message. "Your mother is in ICU, call me now." Seen. No reply. I stayed by Linda's side all night. Every beep made my heart jump, every nurse walking in made me hold my breath. At dawn my phone buzzed. A message from Ryan. "Dad, I'm on vacation, can this wait?" I stared at the screen, unable to breathe. "No," I typed with shaking fingers, "your mother might die." 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then nothing. That's when something inside me hardened. Not anger. Not hatred. Something colder. I remembered every time Linda covered for him. Every time she sent him money quietly. Every time she said, "He's busy, he'll call later." Later never came. By afternoon the doctor pulled me aside. "She needs immediate surgery," he said, "but insurance only covers part of it. You'll need to arrange payment." The number he mentioned felt unreal. I had some savings, not enough. I called Ryan again. No answer. I sold my watch in the hospital lobby. Then my spare phone. Then I signed papers that made my hands numb. Linda went into surgery. I sat alone in the waiting area, surrounded by strangers who looked just as broken. That's when I made a decision. If my son wanted to live like a king, then he would learn what it cost to abandon a queen. 2 days later, Linda survived. Barely. She remained unconscious. And Ryan finally called. "Dad," he said casually, "I'm flying back tomorrow. What's all this drama about?" I closed my eyes. "Come home," I said, "we need to talk." What I didn't tell him was this. By the time he returned, everything he thought he knew about family, money, and loyalty was about to collapse. And he wouldn't see it coming. Ryan came home 3 days later. Not rushing. Not panicked. Not even apologetic. I watched from the living room window as a black cab stopped outside our house. He stepped out wearing sunglasses, a designer jacket, and shoes that probably cost more than our monthly groceries. He looked relaxed, like someone returning from pleasure, not guilt. I opened the door before he could knock. "Dad," he said, smiling slightly, "you look tired." I didn't hug him. I didn't even move aside. "Your mother is in the ICU," I said quietly. "She's still unconscious." His smile faded just a little. "Oh," he said, "yeah, I saw your message." That word, saw. Not panicked. Not flew immediately. Just saw. He walked inside like nothing had changed, dropped his suitcase near the stairs, sat on the couch, picked up his phone. "So what exactly happened?" he asked. I sat across from him. "She collapsed," I said. "Alone on the kitchen floor, a neighbor heard the noise." Ryan nodded, slowly scrolling. "She was under a lot of stress," I added. That made him look up. "Stress," he said. "From what?" "She didn't work anymore." My jaw tightened. "She worked every day of her life," I replied, "for you." Silence stretched between us. Finally he sighed. "Dad, look, these things happen. You're making it sound dramatic." That was the moment I knew. Not suspected. Not feared. Knew. My son no longer felt anything. I stood up. "She needed surgery," I said. "Emergency surgery." "Okay," he said, and insurance didn't cover everything." He frowned. So I paid." He leaned back. "Good, that's what savings are for." I stared at him. "I sold things," I said. "Things your mother gave me. I signed loans I'll be paying for years." Ryan shrugged. "Well, she's alive, right?" That shrug cut deeper than any insult. I walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" he asked. "To see your mother," I replied. "You can come if you want." He hesitated. "ICUs make me uncomfortable," he said. "I'll go later." Later. Always later. At the hospital, Linda still hadn't woken up. I sat beside her and told her everything about the surgery, the bills, and yes, about Ryan. Her eyelids fluttered. Barely. But enough. The doctor said consciousness might come slowly. I held her hand and whispered, "I won't let him hurt you anymore." That night, I did something I should have done years ago. I opened the old metal drawer in our bedroom. Inside were documents Linda kept carefully organized. Bank statements. Property papers. Insurance policies. And something else. A trust fund. One I barely remembered. Years ago, Linda's father, quiet, humble, underestimated, had left something behind. Not millions, not flashy wealth. But enough. Enough to protect her. Enough to protect me. Enough to teach a lesson. The next morning, Ryan left early, dressed sharply. "Meeting with my boss," he said. "Big promotion coming." I nodded. "Good," I said. "You'll need stability." He smirked. "Don't worry about me, Dad. I always land on my feet." I watched him walk out. And I smiled. Because by the time he came back that evening, the ground beneath him would already be shifting. Slowly. Silently. And painfully. Ryan didn't come home that evening. He sent a text instead. "Late meeting, don't wait up." I didn't reply. I was at the hospital, sitting beside Linda as the rain tapped softly against the ICU windows. The machines hummed, steady but unforgiving. Just after midnight, her fingers moved. At first I thought I imagined it. Then she squeezed my hand. Tears filled my eyes. "Linda," I whispered, "I'm here." Her lips parted slightly. "Ryan," she breathed. That name again. Even now. "He's fine," I lied gently. "You just rest." The doctor said her waking was a good sign, but she was weak physically and emotionally. "Stress," he repeated. "Long-term emotional strain can kill faster than illness." I knew exactly what he meant. The next morning, I called the lawyer whose card I found in that old drawer. The same lawyer who helped Linda's father set up the trust. He remembered her immediately. "She never touched it," he said over the phone. "She wanted it preserved in case of emergency." "This is an emergency," I replied. By noon, the paperwork was moving. Not flashy. Not dramatic. Just quiet changes that would soon roar. That afternoon, Ryan stormed into the house. His face was pale, his confidence cracked. "Dad," he said sharply, "did you do something with my account?" I looked up calmly from the table. "What do you mean?" "My card got declined," he snapped, "at lunch in front of my colleagues." I took a slow sip of tea. "That's strange." "This isn't funny," he said. "I called the bank, they said some automatic transfers stopped." I nodded. "Yes." His eyes widened. "You stopped them." "I didn't stop mine," I said quietly. "Your mother did." He laughed once nervously. "Dad, come on, she wouldn't do that." "She can," I said, "and she did." Ryan's voice rose. "You can't just cut me off." I finally looked straight at him. "You mean the money she sent you every month without me knowing?" Silence. The truth sat heavy between us. "That was temporary help," he muttered. "For 5 years," I asked. "Temporary?" His jaw clenched. "She wanted to help me live better." "She wanted to help you live," I corrected, "not forget your own mother in an ICU." Ryan ran a hand through his hair. "This is manipulation," he said. "She's sick, she's emotional." I stood up. "She almost died alone," I said, "while you were posting sunsets." He opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time he looked unsure. "I'll visit her today," he said finally, "this evening." I nodded. "Good." At the hospital I waited. Evening came. Then night. Ryan never showed. But his phone buzzed nonstop. Messages. Missed calls. From his boss. From the bank. From somewhere else. When he finally burst into the ICU hallway, sweat on his forehead, panic in his eyes, he grabbed my arm. "Dad," he whispered, "something's wrong." I looked at him calmly. "Yes," I said, "there is." And for the first time in his life, Ryan felt it. The fear of losing control. Ryan sat in the hospital hallway like a child waiting outside a principal's office. His phone lay face down on his lap, buzzing every few minutes. He didn't look at it anymore. Whatever was happening on the other side of those notifications was no longer something he could control. "Dad," he said quietly, not meeting my eyes, "my boss says my project funding has been frozen." I remained silent. "And the bank flagged my account for irregular activity," he continued. "They're reviewing everything." Still I said nothing. He finally looked up. "Is this about the money Mom used to send me?" he asked. "Yes." He swallowed. "She never said it was a problem." "She never said many things were problems," I replied. "That doesn't mean they weren't killing her." The ICU doors opened, and a nurse waved me inside. "Your wife is awake," she said. Ryan stood instantly. "I'm coming." The nurse hesitated and looked at me. "She asked to see her husband first," she said gently. Ryan froze. For the first time, he wasn't the center. I walked into the room. Linda's eyes were open, tired but clear. When she saw me, tears slid down the sides of her face. "You came back," she whispered. "I never left," I said, squeezing her hand. She looked around slowly. "Where's Ryan?" I took a breath. "He's here," I said, "but before I bring him in, there's something you should know." I told her everything. About the vacation. About the messages. About the money. Each word felt heavy but necessary. Her face didn't twist in anger. It collapsed in heartbreak. "I raised him better than that," she whispered. "Yes," I said, "you did." Tears soaked the pillow. "I protected him too much," she said. "I thought love meant sacrifice." "Love also means limits," I replied softly. She nodded weakly. "Don't give him the trust," she whispered suddenly. "Not yet." I stiffened. "You knew?" I asked. She gave a faint smile. "I knew everything," she said. "I just hoped I was wrong." When Ryan finally entered the room, he looked smaller. The ICU stripped away his confidence. "Mom," he said, forcing a smile, "you scared us." She turned her head away. That hurt him more than shouting ever could. "I came as soon as I could," he said. I said nothing. Linda spoke instead. "You came when the money stopped," she said calmly. His face drained of color. "That's not fair," he said. "I was busy." "Busy having fun," she replied, "while I was dying." Silence swallowed the room. "I never asked you for luxury," she continued. "I asked for respect." Ryan's voice trembled. "I'll change," he said quickly. I promise I'll visit more, I'll help. She finally looked at him. Help how, she asked, with love or with guilt? He couldn't answer. I'm not cutting you off forever, she said slowly, but you will learn to stand without leaning on me. He nodded desperately. I understand. But I could tell. He didn't. Not yet. Because consequences were only beginning. Linda was moved out of the ICU 2 days later. She was still weak, still pale, but alive, and that alone felt like a miracle. Ryan came to the hospital every morning after that. At least that's what he said he would do. In reality, he showed up once. He brought flowers, expensive ones, bright. Showy. Look, he said, setting them on the table, I'm trying. Linda glanced at the flowers, then at him. Trying would have been being here before, she said softly. He nodded, embarrassed. I have work, he said, things are complicated right now. Complicated because the safety net was gone. That afternoon, I received a call from the lawyer. The trust has been secured, he said, no withdrawals without Mrs. Carter's written consent. Good, I replied. That evening, Ryan confronted me at home. This is humiliating, he said. I had to ask a friend to cover lunch. I looked at him calmly. You're 30, I said. That shouldn't humiliate you, it should wake you up. He scoffed. You're enjoying this. I shook my head. No, I said, I'm enduring it. He paced the room. My girlfriend left, he said suddenly. I paused. She said I've changed, he continued, that I'm stressed, bitter, not fun anymore. I almost laughed. Welcome to reality, I said. Your mother lived there alone for years. His shoulders sagged. For the first time, I saw something different. Fear. Not of losing money, but of losing himself. The next day, Linda asked to see Ryan again. This time she didn't scold. She told him stories. About how she skipped meals so he could eat better. About how she worked extra shifts quietly. About how she hid her pain so he wouldn't worry. Ryan cried. Real tears. Not panic. Not embarrassment. Regret. I didn't know, he whispered. You didn't ask, she replied gently. That night Ryan stayed. He slept in the hospital chair. Held her hand when nightmares woke her. And for the first time, I believed there might be hope. But life doesn't change in a day. The following week, Ryan got a call. His company was downsizing. His project was cut. He lost his job. He came home silent. Sat at the kitchen table. I don't know what to do, he said. I poured him a glass of water. Now, I said, you learned. How, he asked. By starting where your mother started, I replied, from responsibility. The next morning, Ryan woke up early. Put on a plain shirt. Printed resumes. Applied for entry-level positions he once laughed at. No designer lunches. No beach photos. Just long lines and quiet rejection. That evening he returned exhausted. I never realized how hard this is, he said. Linda smiled faintly. Now you do, she said. And that knowledge was the beginning of his real education. Ryan's days began to look the same. Wake up early. Eat whatever was in the fridge. Send applications. Wait. And wait. Rejection emails arrived faster than responses. Some companies never replied at all. Others offered positions far below what he once considered acceptable. One evening he threw his phone on the couch. They want me to start as a trainee, he said bitterly. Do they know who I am? Linda looked up from her tea. Do you? She asked gently. That question stayed with him. A week later, he accepted the trainee position. The pay was low, the hours were long. The work was physical: warehouse logistics, inventory checks, loading schedules. On his third day, he came home with sore hands and quiet eyes. No one cares about my degree there, he said. Good, I replied, they care about effort. Linda was discharged from the hospital soon after. Walking back into the house was emotional. She paused at the doorway, hand on the frame as if making sure it was real. I almost didn't come back, she whispered. Ryan stood behind her, ashamed. I'm sorry, he said, for everything. She nodded but didn't rush forgiveness. Sorry is the door, she said, change is the path. Weeks passed. Ryan started cooking. Doing laundry. Taking Linda to her follow-up appointments. Awkward at first, clumsy. But real. One afternoon, I overheard him on the phone. No, he said firmly, I can't come, my mom needs rest. I stopped in the hallway. He caught my eye and looked away, embarrassed. That night he handed me an envelope. What's this? I asked. Repayment, he said, for the bills, not all of it, but a start. I opened it. Cash. Every overtime dollar he'd earned. My throat tightened. I don't want praise, he said quickly. I don't want to be that man anymore. Linda reached for his hand. That man is gone, she said softly, if you keep choosing this one. But just when things seemed steady, the past came knocking. A letter arrived. From the bank. A debt Ryan had forgotten, credit cards, travel loans, luxury expenses, had resurfaced. The amount was crushing. Ryan stared at the paper, shaking. I can't pay this, he whispered. Linda took the letter calmly. Zit, she said. She explained something he didn't know. The trust wasn't just money, she said, it was protection, education, discipline. She had set aside a portion, not for him to spend, but to be released only after proof of responsibility. This debt, she said, is your final lesson. Ryan looked at her. I'll pay it, he said, slowly, honestly. And she believed him. Because for the first time, he wasn't asking for rescue. Ryan worked like a man chasing something invisible. He took extra shifts. Accepted night hours. Came home exhausted, sometimes silent. But he never complained. Months passed. Linda grew stronger, color returned to her face. She walked the neighborhood again, slowly holding my arm. One evening, she asked Ryan to sit with her at the dining table. There were papers laid out neatly. I need you to listen, she said. Ryan nodded, nervous. This trust your grandfather left, she continued, was never meant to make you rich. She slid a document toward him. It was meant to reveal who you would become when comfort disappeared. Ryan's hands trembled as he read. The trust would only be released if 3 conditions were met. Stable employment for 1 full year. Repayment of personal debt. Consistent involvement in family care. No shortcuts. No emotional appeals. No manipulation. If you fail, Linda said, the trust goes to medical charities. Ryan swallowed hard. I understand, he said. Days later, Ryan collapsed from exhaustion at work. Nothing dramatic, just his body finally demanding attention. When I picked him up, he sat quietly in the passenger seat. I used to think strength was success, he said. Now I know it's endurance. The year crawled. But Ryan stayed steady. He paid off the last debt on a rainy afternoon. Came home soaked, smiling. It's done, he said. Linda cried. The final condition was simple. Be there. When Linda had panic attacks at night, he stayed awake. When she struggled with stairs, he carried groceries. When she doubted herself, he listened. No posts. No pictures. No applause. Just presence. On the anniversary of her collapse, Linda handed him the final document. I'm proud of you, she said. Ryan didn't celebrate. He hugged her. And cried. Because he knew the money no longer mattered. He had already received what he needed. The lawyer came the following week. He sat at our small dining table, the same table where Linda once skipped meals so Ryan could eat more. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Ryan stood instead of sitting. He looked older now, not aged but grounded. The lawyer opened the folder. The conditions have been met, he said. The trust is now accessible. Ryan didn't reach for the papers. How much is it? He asked quietly. The lawyer named the amount. It was enough to change his life. Ryan closed his eyes. When he opened them, he shook his head. I don't want it, he said. The room went silent. Linda's breath caught. I don't need it, Ryan continued. I already took more than I deserved from you. The lawyer looked at Linda. She smiled through tears. He finally understands, she said. Ryan took a deep breath. If it's okay with you, he said, I want it used differently. He turned to me. For your loans, for mom's medical care, and the rest for people who don't have anyone. The lawyer nodded slowly. That can be arranged. After he left, Linda hugged Ryan tightly. I didn't raise you wrong, she whispered. You just took the long road back. Ryan stayed with us. Not because he had nowhere else to go, but because he chose to. He never returned to luxury vacations. Never posted about success again. Instead, he built a quiet life. Steady job. Simple meals. Evenings with family. One night, months later, Ryan sat beside Linda on the porch. "I almost lost you," he said. She squeezed his hand. "You lost me for years," she replied gently, "but you found me in time." As for me, I learned something too. Sometimes love isn't protecting people from consequences. Sometimes love is letting them feel every one of them. If this story moved you, please tap like to support the channel, subscribe so you don't miss the next stories, and share it with someone who believes family is everything. And leave a comment, do you think Ryan truly changed, or was the lesson simply learned too late? Thank you for listening.